Hello, everyone, and welcome to another eccentric night edition of Ian Saturday Night. We just endured a tropical storm. We really were lucky because it was heading over Tampa, and my thoughts are with Tampa and St. Petersburg. So I just hope that we all go through it. I want to say that I think Florida gets a bad rap on the news in pop culture because I'm a pop culture historian of sorts. And there's wonderful things about Florida, and there's wonderful things that people in Florida, and there's wonderful places in Florida. So I think the pop culture media treats Florida a bit unfairly, but that's just how I feel. I feel like I'm a part of every place that I've been residing in or visited. So I just feel Florida has gotten a bad rap like New Jersey, and I'm from New Jersey, and New Jersey's had some wonderful places and wonderful people, and it also gets a bad rap. When you think negatively about something, I think it somehow stops you. So, in terms of places and people. So, today I endured there was a lot of waiting going on because there was bands of rain going. So I drank a lot of coffee, 2 cups of coffee. I spun around in circles, and the hours passed. I thought a lot about my class coming up in February, Surrealism in Pop Culture. So I thought about movies to include. I've been watching a lot of movies, mostly of the suspense variety. There was a Korean movie called Sleep, which was very good, and a Nicolas Cage movie called Long Legs. They were both online, both on Amazon, so I had fun watching them. And so, basically, today was a limbo day. A lot of waiting around, a lot of watching people go back and forth in my room. My roommate's a very passionate soul about politics and whatnot, but I try to stay above the fray with politics as much as politics is concerned, because politics puts people in boxes. Just like people's opinions of places and ideas and cultural things. All these things are labels. Maybe they stop us from being a human person in a sense. But yet we can't get away from it. And it inflames the passions too. It inflames our passions when we put labels on people. The wind wasn't so bad. As I said, there were just a little bit of squalls here and there. Coffee takes the edge off things. I like coffee. It makes me feel very euphoric, and I get lots of ideas. It's a very surreal world. I think about that often. A lot of times I carry my dreams with me. I think a lot about my childhood. I tend to think that as a boy, I was kind of a watchful young person. I tend to put everything in a suspense drama, but that's just how I was as a young person, watching every little thing and trying to figure out how I could store it in my mind and what I could comment upon. My time at Seashore House was a very hard time for me. when I was young. I was in an orthopedic hospital, and I was very lonely because all I knew is I was put in the hospital. I knew that it was best for me to be there, but I didn't like it, of course, because it was basically it was a live-in hospital, a residential hospital, and who wants to be there with my blood taken every day? The kids were hard on me. They bullied me and stole my Walkman. I had back in the 80s, people had Walkmans and portable cassette players. So they took my Sony Walkman, and they were very intimidating. And then I had a roommate who struck his cane. He had a cane. I think he had cerebral palsy like I did, but he was a very hard-ass person, and he enjoyed waking me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, banging his cane on the side of my bed. So of course I jumped up like a rocket, scared to death, my heart beating, and he would laugh at me. So that was hard to deal with. I actually had the opportunity to spill the beans on him, and I did because I was frustrated, and nobody likes a snitch. So when I saw him in the cafeteria, he lunged at me like he wanted to fight, and they had to hold him back. So I was lucky on that score. And then I saw him the next day, and he was engaged, and then he was in the bed next to me, and he was engaged with another patient, and they were engaged in oral sex. So that was a very surreal thing to know that they were doing. But I was 18 years old, and I didn't hold any judgment upon it. It was just another surrealistic episode in my life. Another surrealistic episode in my life was getting my finger stuck in a coin return when I was young. Things would happen to me that I never expect, and it was up to me to make sense out of them. That's the way I feel about my life. Things will happen to me, and it's up to me to decide how to process it or how to filter it in my mind. So all these things are very surreal things that happen to me. Surrealism is very important to me. I've been called a surrealist myself. I've also been called Pinocchio because of my supposedly happy-go-lucky spirit. I am happy-go-lucky, but people kind of put me on a pedestal without knowing that I'm a very complex person with a lot of pushes and pulls. I have a lot of drama inside me and pushes and pulls like the next person. It's not negative drama. It's just drama in the sense of trying to make art out of something. I'm a pretty easygoing person for the most part, but when drama happens, I always want to see what I can make out of it. So these are all things that I think about when I'm passing the hours during Hurricane Milton. I think it's funny that it was named Milton because Milton was named after the poet who wrote Paradise Lost. So I wondered if the National Oceanic Weather Association or Noah, if they considered the name and if they named it after John Milton, that wrote Paradise Lost, because Florida is considered paradise, and the hurricane heads for paradise. So that's a little strange to think about. My aide told me that she thinks a lot about Robin Williams, and I do too. I don't think Robin Williams was a depressed person, though. I think he was up against his illness, and he didn't want to be confined by it, so he didn't think there was any way out, and he made the sad choice. But I don't think he was a depressed person. I don't. Sure, he had his devils, but I don't think he was very depressed. At times he was, I'm sure, with struggles with, addictions, but I don't consider him a depressed person. If anybody wants to give me a comment and debate it with me, I'm happy to debate, because I didn't know Robin Williams from Adam or Eve, but I don't know if anyone can judge whether he was a depressed person, because I think he had a lot of joy in his life, but he also had a lot of struggle in his life. That's all. It just made me think of that today, and all the struggling souls that I've known a lot of struggling souls in my life. My aide Ansel was a struggling soul, addicted to drinking very, very heavily. I wanted to help him, but he somehow he wasn't open enough to let himself be helped. That was a hard thing to go through, because right when I turned the corner in the end of school, the ambulance came to take him away, and it was very, very hard for me to deal with. And I saw the dresses in the closet and the vodka bottles under the bed, and I knew I was in trouble. And I wanted to tell somebody, but I felt helpless. Who could I tell? I mean, I was alone at school, and we were dependent on each other, and I depended on him to get me up out of bed. So I felt like he was a lifeline of me being away from school. So what was I going to do? So I felt like I had to cover for him in many ways. And I felt like in some ways, in my personal relationships, I have codependent tendencies, and maybe that gets problematic for me. But at the time, I was very much, I would do errands for him, I would go shopping for him, and I would very much be protective of him. He was a nice person, but he had many demons. And he thought that his parents thought he was possessed by demons. Very much so. Caused him a lot of agony. Ansel. He's a very smart person. Very smart person. I think about all the places that I like. New York City. New York City is a wonderful place. Just because there's a lot of possibility there. I know you need money to be well in New York City and to experience New York City, but somehow just to be there, it's like Because it's like a big circuit board where everything's available. A big circuit board where everything's available. I like that. Paul Eluard, the French poet, said, "There's another world that exists within this one." And that's what I believe. I mean, we wake up day to day, but our dreams are within another world, and our reality is another world. So there's two worlds within one. So in that sense, Paul Eluard was absolutely correct in saying there's two worlds in one. Okay, everybody. I gave you a taste of my surrealistic viewpoint, and for those of you that watched me close to Key West, I'll be teaching my class in February in the studios of Key West around February 1st. So sign up if you get this message in Key West. I'd love to have you, and we'll experience surrealism in pop culture. I'll take you on a tour. Okay, I'll see you next week, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.